The live action of Snow White is now out, so let's talk about it. So the live action of Snow White is now officially out for you guys to go and check out. And look, these live action remakes, whatever you want to call them, have not been the best thing that Disney have done. And Snow White falls in that category. Now, look, I will give them credit where credit is due. Firstly, they didn't do a shot for shot. This Snow White is not shot for shot. It is not the exact same as the 1937, I think it was, Snow White animated film. It's not in any way, shape, or form a shot for shot. So anyone that was hoping that that wasn't the case, you got what you wanted. But with that, I don't think the changes worked for this film. Now, some of the changes that they did, the ending is very different to how it was in the original. I prefer the original ending than this ending. I thought this ending was kind of weird. Also, the ending, how I put this without spoiling anything, makes the dwarves basically feel useless in this movie. It really does. So there's that. They also changed the prince stuff around. That is different as well. So there is a lot of changes that happen here, and I don't think they necessarily worked, but I give it credit for them trying something different. Now, firstly, Gal. Oh, man. She was miscast in this movie. She can't act, man. She can't act. And this movie showed it, man. Whenever she was on screen and she's playing this, and she's supposed to be ferocious, commanding, and I couldn't take her seriously. I honestly could not. When she was trying to do that, it was so cringe. It was just... she just can't act. She just cannot. She's great as Wonder Woman. I'll give her that. Like, Wonder Woman is probably the best performance she's done. But outside of that, this one, the way that she tries to play this evil queen, I did not buy that she was evil in any way, shape, or form. She never came across with that authority. She never came across as, you know, this character that was like, yo, you don't want to get on the bad side of her. None of that happened. And just the facial expressions, it did not work at all. And she felt so out of place, man. So out of place. I just couldn't help but laugh most of the times whenever she was trying to be serious, because it just never came across as being serious. And I was like, okay, who decided to cast her in this? Because she was not the evil queen. So that is a bit of a downside. Now, Rachel is probably the best in this movie. I gotta give her credit. I know that there's a lot of stuff revolving around her. She was the best out of a bad bunch. She gave a solid performance. But again, I didn't buy her as Snow White. I just didn't buy it. I just didn't feel Snow White when I was watching her performance. It just didn't feel like she brought that character to life in a way that made me go, oh, that's Snow White. If you took off the costume that she was wearing and just, you know, did it like that, I wouldn't picture this character, Snow White. I'd be like, oh, this is a different one. And now that could be due to some of the changes of the story that could impact that character as well. I just never felt like this was what I was watching Snow White. But her singing was great. I'll give her that. And she was the best out of all of them. So there is that. Now, it is very lackluster. It really is. I mean, no one was singing along in the theater. I just, there felt like there was no life to this movie. This is probably the most bored I've been watching a live action film, and I know a lot of people in the theater were as well, even the kids. None of them were jumping up and dancing or anything like that. There was nothing in this movie that gravitated and made you go, yo, I want to get out of my seat. Like, granted, people don't like the Lion King one. People don't like, you know, Little Mermaid or something like that. But it still had a little bit of life to them that made you go, you know what? I dig this song. You know what? I feel like jumping and joy. And there was enough where people actually enjoyed it. No one in my theater did. No one was. And I could just see people were just like bored. And this film is boring. I mean, they took the heart of the movie out. It feels like they just went, yo, let's take the heart and soul out of this movie and just do it for the sake of doing it. And I just felt like you had an opportunity here to bring an absolute classic to life in the best possible way, and it just never came across that. And then when the musical numbers come on, they're supposed to be those musical numbers that get you up off your seat. You know, when the dwarves are going, I-ho, off, you know, that didn't even get you going or anything like that. Which then brings me to the dwarves. Yo, that CGI is horrible. I'm sorry, they took me out every time they were on screen. I was like, yo, what is this, a video game? Well, what's going on here? The CG is bad. They looked out of place. It did not look. When Rachel was next to them, it looked out of place completely. It just was horrible to watch. And I was just sitting there, I was like, oh, man. I just don't understand why you would go down the CG route for that. You didn't need to. And it did not work at all. It just looked horrible. And I was sitting there and I was like, every time they're on screen, I was like, ugh, doesn't look good. So there's that. And then there's this, the prince. He's not a prince. Is kind of like a dead character. And what I mean, I don't mean literally dead. I just mean his character is dead. I didn't care for him or anything like that. There was no emotional weight or anything like that. It wasn't like, oh man, this guy's going to save Snow White. I never felt like that. The relationship wasn't great. The little group that they're part of, I was kind of like, okay, this is just kind of a random group put together. And it kind of felt like, this is what it felt like. It felt like they knew that they had to have the dwarfs in here because it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's about them. But then they're like, yo, how can we make this story feel different? So they grabbed this group of misfits and put them together and be like, yo, these are the Seven Dwarfs. And it kind of felt like they just shoehorned in the Seven Dwarfs. They actually feel like shoehorned in. This group felt like they were supposed to be the Seven Dwarfs because they actually do more stuff than the dwarves themselves in this movie. And I was kind of like, what? It's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, not Snow White and the bandits. Like, what are we doing here, people? So, yeah, I just think it's time now to stop these live remakes. I think it is. I just don't think these live action remakes of these Disney classics work. I really don't. I don't think they capture the heart and soul of what the original anime films did. But hey, you know what they're going to do? They're going to keep churning it out. So it is what it is. But to me, lackluster, boring. I just didn't like it. I don't think a lot of people in my theater liked it either. I don't see people coming back and watching this multiple times. I don't see it. So it is what it is. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe you loved it. And if you did, I'm so happy for you, man. I'm so happy. But let me know your thoughts down below. Smash that like button, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.